Of course, we all know Kody has a tendency of blaming everyone else for his own issues. However, what's interesting is that, according to Kody's own expectations of polygamy, especially for polygamous men, Kody might be his own worst failure. For the last 15 or so years, Kody Brown has been living in front of the American public, trying to prove to everyone and maybe even himself that his version of polygamy was divinely inspired, a key to a better, happier life. Kody Brown has always seen himself as a leader, as a patriarch, as a man who's finally figured out life. His equation was simple: love just needs to be multiplied. But in the end, after 3 out of 4 marriages failed, it was not Kody's former spouses or the world that judged Kody Brown the worst. It was Kody Brown's own judgment of himself. There's a lot to be said about this, of course. Kody Brown finally admitted out loud that his attempt at a plural marriage was a complete failure. The saddest part of this, of course, is not just Kody's failure, but the fact that there were real people involved. Real people's lives were affected by Kody's failure, and a rare moment of honesty. Kody confessed that polygamy didn't just fail, he would never choose it again. So how does someone who once championed plural marriage end up here? Essentially monogamous by default, surrounded by the emotional wreckage of the family he built? The first and most obvious standard he failed might also be the simplest. For wives was 3 too many. At one point, reflecting on his life, Kody admitted plainly, "I had 18 kids with 4 wives. It ended in 3 divorces, and I would never do that again. I would never marry again." That's a powerful statement, especially considering his background. Kody grew up watching his own father live with 3 wives. He had a direct model for the life he chose. For years, he promoted this structure to the public as a way to multiply love, just another alternative lifestyle. But after decades of living it, his conclusion is clear and firm: he rejects it. In fact, he's even wondered out loud whether his entire public journey served as a warning, as if he had to fail so visibly that no one else would want to follow the same path. In a moment that felt less like drama and more like exhaustion, he admitted, "When I was 25, I had no experience and all the answers. Now I'm 55 and I have all the experience and 0 answers." That's not just regret. That's a man looking back on more than 30 years of his life and questioning nearly all of it. Kody's family were the Titanic. His overwhelming love for Robyn might have been the iceberg that sank it. And by his own words, that broke one of the most important rules of polygamy. Kody has said openly that plural marriage can't work if a husband falls deeply in love, at least not the way he did with Robyn. When asked if he would ever live polygamy again, his response was blunt: "Hell no." Right there, he gives the clearest explanation for his failure. His marriage to Robyn didn't just add to the family, it replaced it. For his original family, this created a painful contrast. Kody has admitted he was never truly in love with Meri, Janelle, or Christine. He says he chose a covenant of love with them, but he never experienced the intense passion he felt with Robyn. With her, everything was different. He described instant chemistry, an emotional connection so strong it moved him to tears in front of Christine. This wasn't simple favoritism. It was a completely different kind of relationship, and that directly clashed with the principles of the religious tradition he claimed to follow. In that system, major decisions are meant to involve all wives. A husband is expected to seek their approval before bringing another wife into the family. While Kody technically followed the steps, his actions suggested he didn't truly honor the spirit behind them. A healthy plural family depends on fairness, equal time, equal care, equal emotional investment. But during the COVID pandemic, when Kody chose to isolate almost exclusively with Robyn and her children, it became clear he either couldn't or wouldn't maintain that balance. He didn't just have a favorite wife. Emotionally, he had only one wife long before the other marriages officially ended. In doing so, he failed the very principle of equality that gives polygamy any chance of working at all. The original promise of this lifestyle, at least as Kody presented it, was the creation of a large, united family. Christine once said she wanted the family, not just the man, and by that standard, the outcome speaks for itself. Instead of multiplied love, the result was a family left fractured, hurting, and deeply changed. Kody himself at one point acknowledged just how much fallout his choices caused. He admitted that after the divorces there was bad blood, and in some cases he'd even lost touch with his own children. That's the exact opposite of the big, loving family he once promised. During an emotional moment on Special Forces, Kody confessed his deep disappointment over those broken bonds, saying, "When you don't have a deep connection with your children, that is a disappointment." He even seemed to take a moment of accountability, admitting, "I should have had a stronger relationship with my children." But here's the catch. He later walked back most of that accountability, calling it part of his playing soldier phase. So, even taking responsibility? Yeah, that didn't stick. Is there anything Kody can't somehow stumble at? The ripple effects of his choices have spilled over to all 18 of his children, caught in the middle of collapsing marriages. For years, Kody blamed his wives, especially Christine, for not getting along, but the real issue was his own inability to manage relationships. He created a household where the original wives and their kids often felt like second-class citizens, while Robyn and her children were prioritized and protected. The very family structure meant to be the pinnacle of polygamy ended up being its biggest casualty. And beyond the emotional chaos, Kody even failed at the basics of running a plural household. He claimed he wanted love multiplied, but he couldn't even divide his time fairly. For a man managing 4 families, his time management was shockingly poor. Early on, he romanticized rotating between homes, but over time it became clear he just didn't want to do it. The move to Flagstaff, which separated the wives into homes miles apart, only made it worse. He stopped rotating through a united family. He stopped visiting Meri altogether and spent more and more time with Robyn. This wasn't a personal preference. It was a fundamental failure to uphold the duties of plural marriage. He wanted all the recognition of being the patriarch, the CEO of a complex family business, but he refused to show up for the critical meetings. He demanded loyalty and respect from all his wives while giving it to only one. He sold a vision of unity, but in reality, he created a hierarchy that left 3 households emotionally neglected. Kody Brown's journey with polygamy ended quietly, without triumph. He now says he's happy being monogamous, allegedly, but with the very wife whose relationship made his plural dreams impossible. Resentment seems inevitable. The ultimate irony? Robyn, who joined for the sisterhood and still grieves the family's loss, is now in a monogamous relationship she never wanted. The wife Kody truly loved is left spiritually unfulfilled by the very arrangement his love for her created. It doesn't look like either Kody or Robyn is living a happily ever after. And honestly, watching that relationship unravel in future seasons seems inevitable. These two tend to leave destruction in their wake, and their marriage is no exception. Through his own admissions of failure, blatant favoritism, the collapse of his family, and sheer inability to manage the lifestyle he promoted, Kody Brown has become the strongest argument against the very lifestyle he championed for decades. He didn't just fail in the eyes of his wives or the public. He failed by every standard he himself set for men in this kind of life. As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and check out my podcast Mostly Harmless, link in the description. You can also visit our website at level42studios.com and follow me on Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Reality Squad. I'll catch you in the next video. Take care and much love.